Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Cleaning and Cocktails. You guys know the deal. It's where I bring on fellow cleaning business owners to share their story. In this situation, I have the honor of bringing on a close friend of mine, a colleague, a peer that I look up to, Steve Garcia from Clean Team, formerly SMI Facility Services out of Albuquerque, New Mexico. Steve, I've gotten to know you over the years. It's a special relationship in my case because you're a fellow Latino building or growing your family business to where you've gotten to an exit. So we'll get into that. I just want to say thank you so much, man, for being on this show and really getting a little vulnerable and sharing your story with us, man.
Hey Ricky, man, I appreciate you having me on today, man. It's a pleasure. I watch all your shows and you got something great going on, man. Appreciate all your hard work, what you're doing for the industry, our cleaning community. And I want to be the first one to congratulate you on the board of directors position at
Oh,
ISA. Brother, that's amazing, man, to get that spot. It's not an easy one to get, but all the work you've been doing is paying off, man. I appreciate what you do.
thank you, man. I appreciate it, dude. That means a lot coming from you. And to that, because there's a lot for you to cheers on too. I say, let's cheers. Cheers to you, man. Cheers to us. We're going to get into your story. Thank you so much for the compliments and the kind words. Nobody else has been able to say that because you're the first to see it today. Talk about it.
All right, cheers, my friend.
All right. So enough about me. We're here because of you, my friend. So before we talk about Clean Team and SMI in general, I know your brother was involved in the business and it's a family business, correct?
Yeah, that's
SMI,
correct.
right?
Yeah.
Can because I mean, family businesses itself is a big topic, but I always like to kind of set the tone of where, how it began and where you came from. So like, I also remember, I think I read your story in the book as well too. So we'll talk about that. But, the cleaning industry, how did you and the family get involved with a cleaning company? Because I'm pretty sure in the beginning you referred to it as a cleaning company, not a BSC. Am I correct?
Right, right. Yeah, well, there's really two stories, and they're both rather long. But I guess the very first experience that I had with the cleaning industry was my dad. He was a pastor, and he was a evangelist, and he was in the ministry, and so he used to take a lot of side jobs in between. And one of them was working at a high school, the hometown where I grew up in Hillsboro, Texas. And so after school, I think I was in fifth, sixth grade, something like that. Most of the kids used to run out of the school and go to the playground and run, and you could hear them through the windows, through the doors and stuff. And I had to actually go meet my dad at the janitor's closet because my dad had me helping him out, and which I loved.
So, in the janitor's closet, that was where you guys would huddle up, right? That's our headquarters. Is the
Yeah,
janitor's
that's
closet.
right, man. That's right. And so, my dad had a love for the industry. He loved it. He went to school for welding. He could have, done really well in that industry, but he chose to do cleaning on the side there, and he just loved to do it. He loved to see the results of his work and stuff. And so after school, I'd spend about an hour. My job was the hallways, picking up all the big trash out of the classrooms, dumping trash, those kind of things. And I'll tell you what, that's where I got my first start. I was really young. My dad, one thing that he did with us and all my siblings, that he put us to work early on. You know,
Do you feel
and
do you feel that created your work ethic, Steve? Right? Like is that where it first begins where I guess respect for the position, right? Or respect for that the line of work that we're in.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's so important. You teach your kids how to work early on. I mean, you don't have to get drastic or anything. I mean, you got to allow them to do their normal thing as kids. And that was what was great about me, is that my parents allowed me to do everything that, someone that age does, but still they showed me, how to work, be responsible early on. And a lot of times we didn't have choice. For my dad, it was, he gets to go home at the end of the night after the school's clean. Sometimes, it was worse than others, and it'd be a little bit later. But I got really good at just sweeping hallways. I remember the big, long 48-inch dust mops. They were huge, and they were loaded with lemon oil, and it smelled so good. But man, you glide that thing down the hallway, and it looked like you'd actually mop it. you know? And those kind of things, man, those were just memories that I think I was going to do cleaning the rest of my life, or, later on in my life. I never thought, I always thought, man, as a kid, you want to be a pro athlete.
Oh,
You tell your friends, I'm gonna be a doctor, I'm gonna be a lawyer, I'm gonna be something big. You have these dreams when you're little. Never did I think that I was going to be in the cleaning industry. But I tell you what, when I look back at it today, I don't think I'd change it. I really don't. I mean, maybe other than being a professional athlete,
yeah.
I think I was blessed with my family, the industry. It's brought us, a lot of benefits, and I can't complain. God is good.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, I see, and I'll tell you, Steve. Like again, I think it's been at least 4 or 5 years that I first met you, and kind of, we've been in the same circles at BSCI. But uh, you're always smiling, right? You always look like you were just happy, right? So that's why I was always like, man, he's always like happy. Like, I don't see this guy ever upset or mad. So it does kind of speak to your mannerisms and the way you conduct yourself. Uh, One thing I was going to say, it looks like in the early 90s is when you came on board to SMI. So it was SMI, is it traditionally a family business? How much family did you guys have working in the SMI brand?
Well, the way it came about, it was actually 1992. My brother is the one who started the company. It was his company. I was doing security, and I was doing electronic security. So I was doing alarm systems, fire alarms, CCTV, cameras, those kind of things for another company. And my brother approached me, and just let me go back a little bit. My brother Val, me and him have always been really close, and he's always been an entrepreneur. I mean, ever since he was really young. I remember just working with him as well. I mean, he had an auto mechanic shop, he had a painting service, he had just had I mean, he used to do concrete, and it just seems like every time he was doing something, I was right there, right alongside with him. If it was just handing him tools, that's what it was. Um, so we learned to work together real early on in life. So he started the business, and he just approached me one day. He says, "Hey, Steve," he says, "what do you think about helping me out with this cleaning business?" And you know how it is, man. Yeah, I was a little bit older. I was making really good money. Um, and he says, "I think we can make something out of it. It's a really cool industry. Um, Most people think it's just a mop bucket and ringer and you're going to go clean. It really is not." He had had a little bit exposure to BSCAI before that, with a company that he was working for. And he says, I think we can do it. And the first thing I asked him, I said, "Val, how much am I going to make? How much you going to make?" And he's like, well, I only have like 2 contracts. He says, "I might be able to pay like 900 a month." And I was like, 900 a month? I said, "I'm making like 1,600 a week right now."
Oh, shit.
And this was a long time. I was making really good money. Of course, I was traveling a lot and putting in 60, 70 hours a week, doing what I did before. And, but I was in a position where, I could actually afford to do it, I guess, at that time. And I was really burnt out from working so much, so hard and stuff. And he had never led me the wrong way, so I trusted him, and I said, "Well, let's do it. We'll find a way." He says, "But I think within a few months we can bring on some more contracts, and we'll just start bringing you up and stuff." So yeah, I took the risk, I took the chance, and I believed in him. And I'll tell you what, man, the grind was real. It was tough. I
Oh,
see a lot of the. Oh, go ahead.
no, Steve, talk about, because you're going in the direction I wanted to ask you about, because this is something actually I forget to ask. And you said the grind, right? Talk about the feeling that you had, because I think, again, yeah, me too, man. First couple of years, I didn't tell people that I owned a cleaning company. I was not pump my chest excited about owning a cleaning company. So, but when I worked with my wife and my cousin, like the feeling though, when I was working with them, I could care less about anything outside of, like, I was happy, like it was fun, right? So like, talk about that feeling, knowing A, you're not getting paid as much as you were before. B, you're taking a big risk, right? This could fall in your face immediately. Three, like, I mean, it's not a glamorous industry. So like, how are you feeling though? And how did you evolve as how you guys grew? Like the sense of working with your brother, working in this type of industry.
I tell you what, man, there was a lot of scary days. wondering if we were going to make it, what we were going to do. Uh, it's kind of hard to explain the feeling. And the best way I guess I can explain it is that you have no choice but to make it succeed. So that meant getting up early, going to work, uh, trying to sell, trying to, strum up business, those kind of things, deal with customers. And then at night, put your cleaning. We used to have 2 or 3 extra sets of clothes in the car. We'd change, we'd go out there, we'd clean buildings, we'd supervise buildings. Then we would strip and wax floors, we'd clean carpets, and we'd be wrapping up at 2 o'clock at night or at 2 a.m. in the morning. And you go home and you do it all over again. And really, in weekends, you had to do the same thing. And it just, the grind was real. It would wear on you. And sometimes you would just want to give up, just say, you know what, I don't know about this, and we had those conversations many times, but when you have somebody, Val was my mentor, and he would say, hey, just stay the course. Let's just stay the course. We're both in it together. We're gonna figure it out. And we did. We just little by little, we started growing a little bit. We'd get one account, we'd start that account, get another account, start there. Before you know it, we'd hired our first supervisor. It just started growing. And then you wake up one day and you look back, it's like, man, we got a handful of accounts, we're making a little bit of money. We've got some people on board, we got a little office, we got a receptionist now, and it just happens. It almost, it goes so fast because you're so busy, you work so hard, time just flies. And then, like I said, you wake up one day and you're like, man, this is where I'm at right now. If we can do this, can you imagine what we can do in the next, next year, next 12 months, next 16 months?
So Steve, I wanted you to, because what I want people to start realizing, this is going to be a cool exercise for me to do, is I'm going to go back. I'm going to make a lot of cuts of people's interviews, because, I'm interviewing a lot of you, a lot of us, right? Business owners, where your story and the way you've reached success, it all starts with the grind, the moments that you did not want to do, you wanted to give up. And I just think it's going to be great for people. The audience that listens to this, Steve, is the smaller contractor, right? Smaller to medium size. They're growing. They're hungry to grow. Even large size contractors, actually, they get a kick out of listening to this too, because they're like, oh, that was me too. I was there before. So,
yeah.
But I just want people to hear this, because they're all going through it. We've all gone through this. You got to get through these hurdles. This shit's not easy. And you're right, man. The time flies. You know what I was going to say? And I think you would agree, probably. Well, this, early on for you, there's probably, no social media, right? Like, I get to deal with a lot of social media, but I start to tell people, man, document everything, right? Even in because dude, I don't have my first 3-4 years. I keep telling my wife, I'm like, babe, do we have any pictures? How many pictures do we have? We weren't taking pictures. We were just working. We're like, no, I got no time. I got to strip and wax the floor. I can't have a phone in my hand and apply wax to the floor. Like, you're so busy, right? But that is something. Would you agree? Like, those that are in it right now in the beginning, document what's happening with you.
Absolutely. We had very few pictures from those early days, and boy, do we cherish them. When we had our 25th year anniversary, we dug through photos and we found a few where, I still had hair, my brother still had hair. It was crazy. You look back and say, oh my God, do you remember that? I mean, it's insane. First of all, like I said, time flies. You look back and you look at some of the projects that we were on, some of the things that we did, and you just tell yourself, man, I can't believe we did that.
Now, as you're going, was there, I know there's probably many moments, Steve, but was there a moment when you were like, not that you made it, right? Not many of those moments are probably coming, but that you felt like, I made the right decision to take this risk with my brother and in this industry. Was there a moment or moments that you felt like reassured that you were on the right path?
Yeah, I think it was pretty early on. I don't know the timeline, but I would have to say probably 3 to 4 years into it. I think we hit our first $1 million, and at that time, it's when we started paying ourselves, somewhat of a decent salary. We started buying vehicles. We started buying good equipment. I mean, we were trying to find equipment at flea markets and, used and papers and stuff like that. We just, we were trying to save every penny we could and trying to invest it. And we got to a point where we actually started buying, some vehicles, and we started buying good equipment, not dirt dust devils at Walmart. I mean, we were buying dust devils at Walmart at the get-go, and they
I
would
was at
last
Sam's Club all day. Sam's Club and
right.
Aldi all day.
Yeah, so I think at that point we started realizing, hey, this is really happening. And one thing that we always did, and we did it up until almost the very end, is that we reinvested everything that came in. We reinvested it right back into the company, whether it was company vehicles, upper management, um, software, those kind of things. We felt like we needed to reinvest that in order to grow to that next step and get to the point where we wanted to get. And I think that was huge, because I know a lot of companies from being in the industry 31 years. I saw so many companies, do well and then go out of business. And I was like, why, how do you go out of business when,
Oh,
well, a lot of it is management of your money and how you use it. A lot of it has to be reinvested into your company, into your people, especially people. I don't know if we would have lasted this long if we wouldn't have invested into people. And we invested into good management that would allow us to go home at a decent time and sleep through the night and get up refreshed and be able to go and make those big decisions and work on our business, not in our business. And if it wasn't for that, the amount of stress that you endure in this industry day in and day out, man, you just want to throw in the towel. You just want to give
oh,
up.
yes.
Yeah.
And that never changes, right? See, that's something I try to
No.
tell people too. Is like, 1 million, 5 million, 10 million, 20 million, like it doesn't change. Like there's new problems. There's the new things that you're dealing with on again, as you grow. And that's the thing, I guess, Steve, is would you agree, like there's those that want to build a business and be content with a certain size and they're okay, which is okay, right? Like you grow to what you want to grow. But like you said, if you want to grow and scale like you have, and many try to, and many do, you have to reinvest. So like cash flow management, like if you don't know much about it, learn it, because that is almost like a topic. My brother's our CFO, Steve, right? Is when he talks to me, I'm like, man, this is, if I didn't know and he didn't inform me, like I would not realize a lot of the stuff that's going on. Even though I'm an executive and I'm an owner in the business, in the beginning I didn't realize how important cash flow is. To be honest with
Yeah, absolutely, man. It'll make or break you. And I think that's probably one of the biggest reasons why companies go out of business is they don't know how to manage it. Think about it. You're starting a new company. You may be good at cleaning, but you're maybe not good at accounting or business development and, business structure and those kind of things. Those things you have to learn on the fly, really, because they can get you in a lot of trouble early on, man. You're not paying your taxes, Uncle Sam, he wants to share it. He'll come knock it. And
you. Yeah.
that's a fact. And so I think new businesses, they really have to think about not only the business itself, but maybe either hire outside firms like accounting firms that can help them through the initial part of it until you learn it. But a lot of them, to save money, they try to do it themselves, and that's fine. A lot of them get through it, they learn, and they do well with it. But believe me, when you start having a influx of cash, if you're not managing and you're not reporting that properly and those kind of things, it'll get you into trouble, and that's with any business, and you know that.
So
So I think for the new entrepreneurs coming in, there's a lot to think about, really.
so Steve, what about because I like to have, like, I'm a big guy on shared experience, right? Like advice is advice, shared experience I think is valuable. So anything in particular, like in the SMI brand or the culture, and you guys, as you continue to grow and you built and you got to the point that we're going to talk to exit, um, anything particular, like how you guys went about a certain thing, like whether it was an HR, how you recruited, how you guys sold or trained, like anything that sticks out for you that you feel like that was a big reason for success that you guys had in the company?
Yeah, I mean, there's quite a few, but I can tell you early on, being in a family business, and really the family was just Val and I. Really, I had my kids. And that's kind of another story, but I had my kids work for a little bit, but boy, they were dying to get out, because of the expectation. They had to work the hardest, be an example, and they did really good, but they didn't want to stick
They don't
around.
want it,
And
and that's okay. Yeah.
they didn't want it. That's okay. That's okay. So really, it was Val and I. And early on, we butted heads quite a bit. We both have very strong personalities. We both are really good at what we do, but sometimes we would bump heads, right? So I think we came to a point where we said, "Hey, let's split this off a little bit. You know what, Steve, you handle all the operations and sales and that part of the business, and let me handle all the accounting, the finance, the front office, AR, AP, everything that goes in with that." And I think that when we came to that point is when we really started doing well. We started getting along better. Not that I mean, we had our fallouts, like I think every family does, but we're also brothers. I mean, I, I I don't think we ever wrestled or fought, but we used to do it before the business. I mean, you know, uh, but I think when we came to that point, we separated our responsibilities. It was huge because now I really got to focus on my stuff, and then he focused on that side of it, which was the front office accounting, that kind of stuff.
Well, and
And
Steve, that's partnership, man. Right? That's
yeah,
what
no,
family
absolutely,
aside, it's almost like that is what partners do, is what you're
yeah,
talking like work on the strengths, the weaknesses get put on, not put on somebody, but like somebody else is better at it, right?
right. And then Val would come in once in a while, sit in our meetings and find out what's going on. Hey, we have any big startups that I got to worry about, trying to fund those kind of things. I mean, he was still very involved in the operations. And then, of course, when he traveled and he was out, I had to make sure that everything, his side of it was handled. And we learned each other's jobs and responsibilities fairly well, so we could do that. So I think, that was huge. Sales is another thing, man. People, I look at the Facebook feed, I think that you produced, and a lot of entrepreneurs on it, and they're asking about, how do I get accounts? I've been in it for three
Yeah.
months, 4 months, and I only have one account. I can't get an account. Uh, there's a thing that's called that I kind of put together. It's called the machine, and that machine, it has several points to it, and it's how are you going to get business? And some of them, there's so many of them, but some of them are joining your local associations, your chamber of commerce, your if you have a IFMA, if you have a BOMA. Here we have Facility Managers Association, which is huge. That one association is almost, I would say, 90% of the people that we want to do business with, and just start being involved with them, start going to the mixers and those kind of functions. They got to get to know you, and you need longevity in that space, right? Because a lot of people come into those and then they don't see them again for, months, or they don't see them again. That's not good. So, that's one. Now having a strong SEO, having Google reviews, those kind of things. Also, putting together a great marketing program, even if you have to get someone in to help you market. So there's so many things that revolve around bringing in that business. And it's like I always tell a lot of the new people that I talk to that are starting businesses, I say, well, we don't want a 1 time a week business, or we don't want 3 times a week. We want 5. We want the big stuff. And I'm like, okay, well, that's exactly what we want. We don't want any of the small stuff, right? But we've been in this space a long time. But for you, this is it's a great place for you to learn.
Mm.
You don't want to make a mistake on a 500,000 square foot building. You'd rather make a
You lose
mistake
it.
on a
Yeah.
3,000 square foot building
Yeah.
because you did something wrong or you handled the customer wrong. So learn in that space and then grow up, you know, uh, grow up your accounts, grow up the space, those kind of things. And when you get to those, you'll know how to handle them. And they're much easier to handle than the small ones. And you know that. The smaller
Oh
ones
man.
are the most pain in the butt, you could
Well,
deal with.
Steve, like
Can't stand it.
that's the number one thing, man. I try to, and it's difficult to convey like what you just said, right? For people that, they want to grow. They're in the business. I literally just got a message this morning. It's that exact same point of I've been in the business for 3 months. I'd really love to learn how to get more accounts. It's like if I didn't clean for the first 2 years of being in the business, like I don't know where I would be right now because I can, you reference so many things in the past, Steve, right? Like I still will reference accounts we used to clean, me and my wife, like 5, 6 years ago, because
Yeah,
it's ingrained in my head. And I'm like, oh, this is like the children of the teens. Remember, babe? Like the 12 exam rooms and there was a U shape that we did. Remember, if that was 4 hours, oh, but that was back then. This one's 5 for sure. Like you don't have that if you don't actually do it yourself. But
that's
it's
right.
hard to swallow, I think. Some people don't, I didn't do this to clean. I did this to build a business. Well, how do
Yeah,
you think how do you build a business? Is on experience, right? Or on some kind of
that's right.
foundation.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So I came in, I was cleaning, I was doing floor work, special projects, construction cleanups. I was doing everything. Then I kind of took on the role of the supervisor where I was going out. We hired a few of our first cleaners and I'd go out and supervise them, do inspections. Then I became an area manager. Now I got some bigger accounts. I got a little area that I'm overseeing. And then next step was operations manager. Now I got a couple area managers, a couple area supervisors underneath me. Then all of a sudden I'm vice president of operations. Now I have an operations manager under me. Now I got that has several more area managers under. And so each one of those steps was so valuable for me when I got to the top because I could relate not only to somebody at my level, but I could also relate to that cleaner, that supervisor. When they came in the office and they were upset or they were irate or something was going on, I could bring them and say, hey, I know what you're feeling. I know I've been where you're at. And a lot of us can't do that. So um, I'm we were always very particular, like who we brought in. We always wanted somebody that had some kind of industry experience because it can hit you square in the face if you're not prepared for it. I mean,
Yeah,
it's a tough industry, man. You
yeah,
sit down in front of an irate customer for something that to you is very small in nature, but to that customer, because they found a bug in the corner, to them that was huge. And how are
yeah.
you going to respond to that? Especially when you're sitting there and you're getting scolded, on occasion, and you have to be able to speak clearly, speak properly, and just diffuse the situation or whatever it takes. And so that experience doesn't come overnight, or somebody from a different industry that comes in and you send them out to your biggest customer and you say, hey, this customer is upset, go talk to him. And that's danger, you
That's
know?
dangerous, man. Yeah, like
Yeah,
you're playing with fire right there.
that's right. So,
I like the word you
looking
use too, Steve. Diffuse. I like that word, right? Like you diffuse any kind of situation, good or bad. Like diffuse the situation.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to because these customers, man, they're upset just for a little bit. They'll get over it. A little bit later on they'll say, hey, they took care of it. And then you get another opportunity. So it's pretty important. So one thing that I try to share now with Clean Team and a lot of the branches and the people that I'm dealing with, I get to speak to a lot of really new management personnel within the company and stuff. And I talk to them about it, or I'll do a session on our branch manager meetings, or at the company meeting, whatever. And I always try to push training within. So what we tend to do in the industry is we'll hire cleaners and we'll put them at a building and we just leave them there. If they're really great cleaners, we hardly ever interact with them because, man, they got a customer that's satisfied. We don't hear anything from them. They're constantly renewing year after year. But man, those are our stars. Those are the people
Yeah,
that we have to train to go to the next level. So I always say, train your cleaners to be leads in your buildings. Train your leads to be area supervisors. Hey,
and I know,
Ricky.
and so on, right? And then train your area supervisor to be manager and everything, right?
Yeah. So from your leads to area supervisors, train your area supervisors to be area managers, train your area manager to be operations manager. And then you constantly have a feed into your business as you continue to grow. Yes, you have to replace a lot of great people at the end. And that's one thing that is so important to us is that we have good cleaners and the customers are happy. But just like you hired them and you train them to be good, people coming on will be great cleaners if you train
Yeah.
them well, so
Yep.
have a constant feed of people into your business. So you're not having to hire from the outside so much.
All right. golden nuggets. So on that point though, because we got to take a break, Steve. So we're going to go to a
Okay.
break to hear from our sponsor. We'll be right back, everybody. Welcome back. What I wanted to do, Steve, is I don't know if you know, but if you know, everybody that's watching, those that are listening, you're going to listen. Those that are watching are watching. There's a magazine cover back there behind Steve's shoulder, and it is the cover of Contracting Profits. And why that's important for me, you guys, is that was the first time from facial recognition of knowing and seeing Steve and Val within the crew of BSCAI and walking the tables and everything. This was the first moment that I seen them on a magazine, and I saw who Steve and Val were, and that was the first show that I met you, Steve. So I don't know if you know that, but backstory on that. So, but what I want to bring that up, Steve, is not many people get some of the accomplishments that you and your brother have gotten to. Did that when you guys got that coverage in the magazine? And I remember, I think it's David's book, right? You're in a book as well. Like, did that recognition at least give you a sense of like, you know, man, all this hard work is paying off. We're reaching milestones in this business together. How was it feeling seeing like that cover and then getting covered in David's book and stuff like that?
Well, I'll tell you what, it was just a huge accomplishment for us. Um, you know, you're your own worst critic. You always think, hey man, you know, you see other companies and they're doing these great things, and you think, hey man, am I falling behind it? What's going on? You know, everybody's growing, everybody's getting into this, getting into that, you know. And so when we got invited to be on the magazine and tell our story, you know, it's kind of unrealistic. It was just like, man, you know, are you sure you call the right people? You know, and so what do you want to know about us? We're just a cleaning company. We're two brothers. You know, we're just in the grind. You know, he says, no, you guys have a great story. You know, we've been part of the organization of BSCI for at that time would have been 25 years, and I was really involved with BSCI. I served 2 terms on the board of directors there, and the very first term, you know, we made that big transition to Smith Buckland, so we made huge decisions during that time period and stuff. So we became, you know, pretty well known within the industry and the community there. And so we were invited to that, and it was just an honor. They took us to Nashville, Tennessee, where the streets of Nashville, Tennessee, downtown, and we they did the photo shoot and stuff, and it was huge, you know. And you just don't really think about your accomplishment yourself, you know. You when you grow and you get to certain, it's like, hey, we did a good job, we got to hear stuff, but people on the outside are like, man, you guys did that. You know, how'd you do that? And it's like, for us, it's just day in, day out. You know, it's kind of like me. I'm getting old, right? So every day you get up and you kind of look the same. But then if you look at your picture 5 years or 10 years back, it's like, dang, I aged, you know, look how old I am. You know, I didn't even realize how old I got, you know. Well, it's kind of the same. It's kind of the same way. You just don't realize what you're doing and your accomplishments and stuff, because, you know, to yourself, all you're doing is trying to make the best out of your company and your people and those kind of things. So yeah, no, that was a huge accomplishment. And not only that, but we were able to use that in our marketing material, you know, our bid proposals, those kind of things. And when the customers see those kind of things. They're like, okay, we're not dealing with
Yeah, you're being
mom and
recognized.
pop.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're a professional.
so it was really a blessing for us. Yeah.
So, so let's talk about. So we've been talking about your brother. You know, what about your kids now, right? I mean, I know, one of your sons is a badass, is un chingon, right? Like, well, I
Yeah.
want you to share about a little bit about your kids. One, you said, hey, they don't want to follow with me in the cleaning company. That's okay because they had their own ventures. But before we talk about who they are and what they're doing right now, uh, how does it make you feel? How does it make them feel to see dad, do what you're doing, and again, the accomplishments that you've had? How does it fall and trickle down to the kids?
Yeah, so I'm blessed to have two kids that are doing really well. My youngest, Elijah John Garcia, he's a detective for Rio Rancho Police Department. He's also on the SWAT team. He does combat training for law enforcement. I'm not sure if it's combat, but it's the kind of training that they get, for use in their what they do. And I'm proud of him, man. He's kind of a hero to me because he's doing something that a lot of people don't want to do anymore. It's a lack of respect for law enforcement, and with everything that's going on, it's tough. And these guys out there, they put their lives on the line every single day, and they just get no respect anymore. So anyway, I'm just proud of him and what he does, and he does a lot with the community, and so I'm very proud of him.
Well,
Then
here,
of course my
cheers,
other son.
cheers to him, man. Because I agree with you, man. It sucks what happens and what's going on out there, but I mean, human, right? Everybody's human, their own personality, their own emotions. I live in Chicago, right, Steve? So it's like we get all kinds of shit going on here, but it's like, dude, without law enforcement, man, what are we, right? What kind of society would we be without that? So props to him for pushing through it. That's one to be proud of, right? So I
Yeah.
didn't know Elijah's story. So this is good for us to know and good for me to know. And then you have your other son as well.
Yeah, my other son, we got him involved in mixed martial arts when he was about 15 years old. Um, it was a bullying incident that happened at a school. And then Elijah, my youngest, he and I were in mixed martial arts, and not anything to the point where what he does. I mean, we were in Kempo and Shotokan, and we knew how to do katas really well. But if I could actually figure out a street fight, I don't know how good that would have come out. So, but there was people around us that knew. So, he had a bullying incident at school, and he says, Dad, he says, I just want to learn some self defense. And I said, well, I can kind of guide you to the right people. And so we did. So he started, we started him doing jujitsu tournaments, and then kickboxing and smokers, and then he started winning belts and that kind of stuff, and then just progressed. All of a sudden, he got really involved in mixed martial arts, and he's really good. And of course, I didn't want him doing that. I would support him.
Like this
I
is
I
supposed to be
told him,
just for self defense.
right, right. And so he started just climbing the ladder there, and we did, I think, 7 fights in Bellator, and then we got signed to the UFC.
Fellow
He's on his
Bellator alumni. Remember? I think I told you that, right?
Yeah, I think you worked for Bellator. Yeah, I think I remember you saying that. That's insane. I don't know when about that was, but we were probably, in the same venue maybe or
No,
something.
well, no, I did. It was when Bjorn was around. So when Bjorn Rebney was the founder, CEO of Bellator, this was like, man, we were on ESPN Deportes. So this is when we had like Michael Chandler, Eddie Alvarez, Hector Lombard, Jorge Masvidal, where he lost in the triangle choke, or like
Yeah, yeah,
down triangle choke. Like I was right there next. I saw it happen in front of me. But yeah, I was only there for 1 year. Like I was literally
okay,
put out to set up the ring girls, to set up the guys at the hotel, to like I was an intern, man. But that was like
yeah,
get exposed to that, dude. I already was a UFC fan, but like I became a mixed martial arts like just junkie, man. I was on MMA junkie all the time. Like I was infatuated because dude, these guys work hard, man. Like both your
oh,
sons
yeah,
work hard in their respect, right? But like for me, like the fighting part, like it's a career, but yet not a career. Like you have to get to a
right,
certain point to consider it a career. So talk about
yeah.
more grind and hustle. right? Like you're grinding and he's hustling.
Right, exactly. We were there, I think, the year that Bjorn left.
Okay.
So,
Strike.
so
Well,
we,
what is the
yeah,
strike force, right? Or is it
yeah,
transition? Okay.
I think so. So I knew Bjorn, uh, good guy. He gave us our first shot, and then did 7 fights there. Then he got picked. He did a couple fights at a local promotion out of our gym, Jackson Wink, and then I got signed to the UFC, and I think we're on our fifth fight there. So, he's now made it a career, and he does really well. I mean, he's got a great family. I got three great grandkids, and they're just blessed. They're really,
Well,
um,
and that's what's, like you see, because right, Steve, well, I got to say, there's not, I know of many second, third generation businesses, but then you also have a lot that, like in your case, right? Like they don't come into the business, but they flourish in the careers that they have, and that you're still that family, that unified family together, that everybody's, again, working hard. Owning a business is not easy. Growing a family is not easy, but growing a family and being a business owner, in my opinion, is
yeah,
that much harder because, uh, when you're working for corporate, nothing against working at corporate, right? But like you could check out, you could check out, go
yeah,
home, and you got your family. As a
yeah,
business owner, you don't, you can't always check out, especially, yeah, me and my wife, I bring it home. She's like,
right,
Rick, time
exactly
out,
right.
time out. Okay, we're good. We're not talking about janitorial closets and supplies right now. Let's go.
Right.
All right, so now let's get into, because this is a great way to take us through the journey of you, right, in the business. Not many companies, like I was telling you, get to the point where they can get to exit, right? Um, did you know at what certain point did you say, you know what, Val it wants to step away from the company, or I want to spend more time at home? Like, was there a reason that you guys jumped into it, or the opportunity presented itself for you guys? I'm always interested to know when that happens. Like, because I get reached out to all the time, but I'm not ready, so I'm I'm trucking along. Like, how did you guys come about to get to this point?
Well, there was a few reasons, but I think the most probably important one was Val's health. Um, he had a little bit of health issues there previous couple of years before we sold, and it's kind of a wake up call. What happens if I get sick and can't work anymore, or can't run the business, and those kind of things. So we started really thinking about those kind of things early on, and we went to the CEO conference, and I think it was in Hawaii, and we sat in. You know how that you just had him on, Mark? Is it Mark?
Yeah, perfect.
Mark Herbert,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, percent.
Yeah, I mean, he's really good at what he
Oh
does.
yeah.
And so we sat in there, and he went through everything with mergers and acquisitions, and we asked all the questions and stuff, and we had no idea that we were going to go there. We didn't think, you know we were at a point where we were going to sell. We just happened to be in that class, and it started making sense there at the end. So we came back, and Val says, what do you think? You think we're in a position to do that? We talk about his health. And then after 30 years, man, you get burnt out a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
It's the grind never stops. And you might not have to do any of the work, but man, when you got people, trying to sue you for any little thing, I mean, it's crazy. The stuff you got, you know, and it gets stressful. So the company, like I said, probably the last 5 years had been in a position to where, we did really well. Well, you don't want to sell when you're doing bad. You don't,
Yeah.
you want to sell when you're doing good. You're making money, because that's when the better multiples come through and those kind of things. So anyway, it just kind of all came together. It's a really weird thing, because you know a year or two prior to that, we thought we'd never sell. It's
Never
like,
so.
okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and so it just happened, and it happened really fast. And then Gary Penrod, which was the broker, we've known him for all 30 years too. And Val and him had always talked many years before. It's like, hey, whenever you're ready, I want to be your guy. I want to be your guy, you know? And there's so many people in our industry that are good at what they do.
Mm-hmm.
But because of those, you know, it might be a handshake, but you know, your word means something
Yeah,
still.
100%.
And so, you know, when that point, we just wanted to do an evaluation. Say, no, we're not really thinking about selling, but hey, you know, let's do an evaluation,
Yeah.
see where we're at. You know, it's good to do that every so often, right? So that's how that came about. Did evaluation, things were really good. Um, and I don't know, we just made the decision, man. It just happened. And it was scary. You know, Val probably was in a better position to be able to leave and be able to retire. And, you know, I still got
Finally.
another 15 years,
Finally.
you know, right? And so there was several options we talked about, you know, maybe me buying out the business outright and continuing and those kind of things. But you know, I was burnt out too. We started together
That's
and
already
we've
good.
been in the grind together. So I was like, you know what? There's so many things that I want to do, you know, other than cleaning. You know, there's other hobbies, things that I can do that, you know, could probably bring in some income and stuff. And I thought, man, I'm just gonna, you know, that's what I'll do. I'll just do something
Well, you
different,
could,
you
yeah,
know,
and
and
you know, you get to a point you could diversify what you do, and your knowledge in the industry is also a big plus as well, man. All right. So, Steve, we talk about, uh, you know, opportunity presented itself. Like you said, you didn't plan for it. It came, which I think a lot of times is the case, right? And I was telling you, I don't know the exact percentage, but dude, there's not a lot of companies that get to the opportunity to sell their business. But what I want to end with is, let alone you guys were acquired, you are still with Clean Team, right? I mean, you know, we're affiliate partners, right? You help me in the New Mexico region. So it's like you're still there. You still got that hunger, I believe, and the drive to like still be in the industry, which I respect and love that you still are. What can you talk us through like that transition of, you know, so you've been acquired, you are with a new brand, but you're still your own brand. And I think you're mentoring everybody too, right? You're talking them through and you're sharing your experience. How has that been since a year ago when you guys made that move, and you know how has that felt, and what's the future look like?
yeah. Well, I can tell you that during the transition, it was tough. And I think anyone who sells their company, uh, especially our size and larger, your people are going to be worried. It's like, you know, they've been dealing with us for so many years. Now, who are these new people that are coming in? Am I going to be treated the same? Am I going to be respected? Am I going to keep my position? You know, or am I going to have to work twice as much now? Those kind of things. Those are issues that you're going to deal with during the transition. And one thing that we did is we wanted to make sure that we sold to the right company. And we left a lot of money on the table because we wanted to make sure that we had the right company and it was a good fit for our people because our people were the most important.
Yeah.
And because of Bob Armbruster with Clean Team, he had been in our peer group for so many years. He knew us inside and out. He knew our numbers. He knew our people. He knew our, you know, he knew our corporate structure. There was nothing really because in our peer group meetings, everything was open book. He could come in, look at our books, he could look at our investments, he could look at anything he wanted to. And so, I mean, it was kind of a no-brainer. He came in and says, you know what, you're worth this amount of money, and I think I'm willing to pay it. And that's where it ended up, you know. So there was other companies that offered more, but all they wanted was accounts. They wanted accounts. They weren't interested in most of our upper management. They had people in the area already. And that's one thing that we weren't going to do
No, you
because,
couldn't. Yeah, yeah. And
yeah, the loyalty.
I feel like that move would resonate with, or would like the people that you have should have seen that then, right? Or they saw that and said, this is going to be okay. We're going to be okay.
Yeah,
Like, we're taken care of.
right. So Val early on says, Steve, I can't stay on. He says, I can stay on for a little bit, but you know, I can't be there. I can't continue to work. There's a lot of reasons, you know. You know, you might say punching the clock or having to answer to someone else when you've been, uh, you know, you've answered to yourself for 30 plus years. It's difficult. I know it's got to be difficult. So I said, I'll stay on. And then that was part of the deal because they said, when they came in, they said, if one of you guys don't stay, then the deal's off. It ain't gonna happen. And so then I was kind of stuck. It's like, okay, well, I mean, how long do I have to stay? And they said, well, especially particularly during the transition is probably the most important. But we feel like you're a big asset. We want you to come on. And so I kind of had mixed feelings. I knew Bob, great, him and his brother, great people. Got along with them well, but you might not be answering to Bob. You might be
Yeah.
answering to CEO or
Yeah.
somebody else, or a regional or somebody like that. So I decided I was going to stay on during transition. I signed an employment agreement to stay on for a period of time. And so all that took place. And then I'll tell you what, as time went on, they treated me really well. They didn't make a lot of changes. They allowed me to run the business like I always had, keep the same people that we've had in place. They were just, hey, just continue to do what you guys are doing. You guys are a great company. We don't want to come in and mess it up. So that was number one. That was, music to my ears, right? Two, they just brought me into their management circle, upper management circle. They made me a regional vice president. And so now I was able to work within the policy making structure of the company. And they got 18 branches. By the end of this year, it's going to be 20. So then I felt, okay, now they're going to utilize some of my strengths to help them out. So I have to say that they've really treated me well, and there's really no reason to go out and do anything else. So at this point, if they continue to keep me on after that agreement, I'll probably stay on and work with them, help them grow their company, and enjoy the industry still.
Oh man,
So
that's like
so
a
that was,
picture perfect recipe, right? Like,
yeah,
dude, like kudos to them because that is how I feel it should be done, in my opinion. But you have the people like a Val, right? Val's like, I got it. I want to exit. It's my time, right? But for those
yeah,
that do want to stay on and have, the traits that you have, the work ethic, the intangibles that you just cannot teach, kudos to them for giving you that kind of flexibility, and then you right back, right? Because it takes a lot to go from, like you said, you're the owner, you're making the decisions to now you work within a team now. So it's like,
yeah,
so, but again, for me, that shows what a leader can do, right? A leader can lead, or a leader can be within a group, still leading, but from like a parallel perspective. I mean, so what my question then to end everything is like, well, two things, Steve, is you kind of said it, you'll stay on if they have you stay on. But like, what does the future do you feel look like for the cleaning industry? Um, is there any shifts that you're seeing? What are you excited about the next 3 to 5 years for us in the cleaning industry, and for those that are just getting in or starting to see success? Like, what's your outlook on the industry?
I think we're in a recession-proof industry, and if we can survive the likes of COVID like we did, there's not a whole lot that can really hinder our industry very much. And I think the future is bright. I think small companies, if they do it correctly, they're going to be able to thrive in the space. I think offices are starting to come back online. I think there's going to be a little bit, work from home still, but I see that going away. And you got people like Elon Musk and those type of individuals pushing it for everyone to come back to work at the office, and it's going to continue. We're always going to have to make a safe environment for our customers and their people. It's just it's always been that way, and I don't see it changing. I think robotics is going to have a little bit of a change in the space, but it's not going to be that much. You're still going to have that person, at least in the next 20 years, that can go in there and be personable, do the work that's required. They may have some really cool tools to work with, kind of like what you guys are doing with Route and
Yeah.
some of the robotics and those kind of things, but still, you're still going to have live people in there. So I don't see a real big change. All I see is the technology continue to grow. I think people, our customers and people out in that field are going to start understanding how important the services are, start paying what it's worth. A lot of times, you might be in there and you're looked at as maybe the last guy on the totem pole as far as the services and being paid and those kind. Now I think we're going to start being at the top 2/3 because they can't go to work. They're locked. So um, I guess that would be it. I think we're in a thriving industry still, and I don't see it stopping. I really don't.
I could agree, man. Neither do I. So, Steve, what would you leave some advice from a leadership perspective, right? Because you've been a leader, you become a leader, and you still are leadership in the role that you're in. Uh, what piece of advice do you give those that are learning to become leaders in this space, right? Building their companies on instinct. They've never been a business owner before. They've never built a team. What are a few tidbits that you would share that you felt helped you become the leader that you are today?
So I think we keep bringing up the term grind, and that's what it is. If you want to be in this business, in this industry, man, and you're brand new, it's a grind, and you have to put everything you got into it. And when you get to the point where you want to give up and stuff, you have to either feed off someone else, like a Ricky or myself or someone else that can help you guide you through these tough times, to get past that. Because man, that's you give up, all that hard work just goes down the tube. It'll happen, man. You just, like I mentioned earlier, you wake up one day and you're in a place where you thought you'd never be. So the other thing is, don't be afraid to work with subcontractors. There's when you talk to other people about subcontractors, sometimes it's a bad word. And for us, we developed great relationships with the likes of Harvard and Marsden, and now with Rosalato. But here's the key. So if they allow you to work with them and allow you to price them out accordingly, um, I would pursue it. But if they come in and they say, "Hey, this is what we can pay you. That's all we got," and
Run.
take it or leave it,
Uh,
forget it. I mean, that's the first thing you got to get. You just got to run as fast as you can. But there's a lot of good companies. Ricky, you came to us. We weren't really a small company. We were a larger
yeah,
company.
yeah. Do it.
Compared to it. And you said, "Hey, we got this work out there. This is what it is. Here's the process that we want to put in place. These are the numbers. What can you do?" And man, we talked and we came up to an agreement that was a win-win for both of us. And I'm telling you, man, the 6-step process that was new to us. That was scary. When I talked to our people about it, they're like, "No, man, why are we gonna do that?" No one else goes and takes pictures of the closet when they start, takes pictures of the trash can, and I said, "You know what? Let's just give it a shot. Let's just try it. You never know. Let's just try it." Okay, well, we'll do it, but I don't see it working. People are going to want us to pay for their phones, and this, I'm sure you come across it all the time. But you know what? We took a chance on it. We did it, and you know what? People did it. People followed the plan. It works. Now we have a great relationship. I think we just took on maybe another couple sites with you guys. Now
We got
couple
four.
more
We got four more coming.
yeah, so it's incredible. But you know what? I think if you're starting out the business, search those people out. There's some really good companies that will help you grow as they did us early on. And if you have any other questions about that topic in particular, there's a lot of people that can talk to you about it. I'm willing to share my experience with it and who are some of the better guys to go after as far as subcontracting. Great success there. So anyway, to end it all, I guess the grind, just keep your head in the game. Um, there's going to be a day when you're going to look back and say, you know what, it was all worth it. It really was. So.
Oh man, Steve, thank you so much, dude. Again, the journey. This is why I do it, man. This is why I love asking these questions and bringing people like you on, because yes, a lot of the times there are some similar stories, but there are so many that are not. I can't tell you enough how many times people will come to me and say, "Hey, man, that one moment like minute 101 or hour 101 when I was listening to Steve and he said this, and like it's those moments, man. Like this is why it's important for people to hear it from you, hear it from others in the space, because dude, everybody's going through the grind, everybody's going through the hustle. This is not an easy industry. It's not, we don't get thank yous, we get complaints. It is not hard. It's not easy, man. So I love to let people in on your story, let people in on other stories, because as you said, you already opened yourself up. So I'm going to let you know that people will have your LinkedIn. They're going to know how to contact you in our post. Like you said, people feel free to reach out to Steve, ask him any questions. This guy's a wealth of knowledge. He'll answer anything you guys need. So dude, again, Steve, thank you, man. I know how long you took an hour and a half of your time to sit here. I appreciate you. Are you going to be in Las Vegas in the next couple months?
Yeah, I think I'm planning on being there. So hopefully we get to see you there.
Are you going to be there?
Yeah, I think so.
Awesome.
I'm planning on it. I'm hoping.
Come on, man. You got to come. You got to come. You got to see me there. Let's go. All
Yeah,
right.
you gotta let me get my money back on that golf game.
No, let's do it. All right. Well, hey, Steve, thank you again. I appreciate you so much, man. Cheers to your success. Cheers to you and the family. To many more years of success, my man. Thank you. And
Yes,
everybody
sir. Thank
watching
you.
to another episode. Thank you for tuning in on Cleaning and Cocktails. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'll see you in the next one.
Thank you, Ricky. Appreciate you, brother.